Hi Anti-Society, welcome back to the Anti-Social Planet, and today we are checking out chapters 12 and 13 of Tower of God Season 2. So in the last couple of chapters, we got into the actual next test that they're doing. I almost called it a game, and I feel like that would be a disservice to what's actually happening, because I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit more cutthroat than a game. I don't know if anyone is going to try and kill each other, because that's usually not how it goes, but I feel like Prince is going to cause some issues. And I mean, Bomb doesn't seem to be entirely against the idea of getting rid of people. He seems to kind of not want people around, so what do I know at this point? But we did get into another game where it seems that the people who are rooming together are kind of a team. Some people seem more trusting than others, but they sort of have to work together, possibly, because one person has to stay in the room and then one person has to go out and recruit other team members and take over rooms and stuff, but one of them has to stay behind with the remote that they have, with the USBs that are symbolic of them controlling their room or what team they're on and stuff. It's very complicated. Honestly, there were a lot of rules thrown at me, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep up with it as well, especially since usually the games are it's like here's the test, here are the rules, and usually something goes sideways in some capacity. I feel like someone is going to try and find a loophole of some kind anyway, so I'm really just here for the ride to see how different people react to all of this. We have some people like Wangnan and Niu, was the adorable one's name, who are just kind of camping out in their room and waiting for everyone else to kind of sort themselves out before they decide what to do. And then we have Prince, who's hiding the control, but his room is unlocked because he's just kind of leaving the hired help that he has to defend for himself. Then we have Bomb, who was making a bit of an impression on Yin, where she was going to try and stop him from leaving using her abilities, and he very quickly froze her in place and just sort of took the control and left. So some people are being a little bit more cooperative than others, but we haven't seen a few of the characters yet and what they're going to be doing. So I'm excited to get into this next chapter and kind of see what their plan is going to be, especially with Akraptor and Teddy Bear, who I will continue to call him Teddy Bear, but they're in a room together and they seemed like they might be interested in the fact that Bomb is going against Jihad, and they seem to have come to a tentative truce between them because of that. There's kind of sort of friends. So I want to know what they're going to end up doing, if they're going to help Bomb, if they're going to go after Prince, who seems to want to pick a fight with him, if they're going to do their own thing now that they have a chance to kind of navigate the tests and stuff like that. I don't really know. So I want to see what they're up to in this chapter, but let's just get into chapter 12. I feel kind of bad for Yin because she just didn't even get to try. And she's used to seeing herself as powerful, because we had her talking about how even her family didn't know how to control her fire ability that she has. It's something that she's used to being this uncontrollable force that she can, I guess, kind of rely on, even if it is terrifying in its own way. And then to be so swiftly stopped in her tracks must be jarring for her, because it wasn't even a fight. Bomb literally didn't have to do anything except freeze her in place and then leave. So I feel kind of bad, because I'm sure that that's something she's not entirely used to. Oh, are we still gonna put up a fight? I feel like actually picking a fight might be a bad idea. I feel like there's a bit of a difference in power level here, at least even control, because she talked about how she didn't know how to control her abilities really either, whereas Bomb seems to be very in control of what he's capable of doing, and having a power that you don't really know how to control or even maneuver in a useful way. I mean, I don't feel like just brute force will be the way to win against Bomb. So I think she's gonna need something a little bit more controllable if she was going to stand a chance. Why are we... Oh, he just took out his USB then and he's gonna leave it for her? I mean, that's kind of nice. I mean, he doesn't need the whole remote. We all know that he's not gonna try and get other teammates and take over the different rooms and stuff. He's just gonna go and try and fight love. So I guess he doesn't need the remote. Should we call it a remote? I'm just saying that because that's what Wang Nan called it. Who's yelling? Oh, Prince? He does seem to want to be the center of attention. I don't know. This is a cool shot though, especially with the yellow, because the contrast of the purple and the yellow. I love how we have all the purple with the wallpaper, even though it was white before, because we had all of the flames and stuff. And I love all the uses of like purple with bomb violet, I guess, which is kind of a play on the whole violet part of it. But also purple's just like a in-between color, right? It's a mix of like a warm and a cold color together. It's also like the last like color in like the rainbow, like it's in a like prism spectrum of color. It's the last one. It's also associated with like royalty too, which might have some interesting connotations. Yeah, I don't think this will work out well either. Even though I think Prince might be more powerful in terms of raw strength than Yin. Like, again, Yin has like the disadvantage of not really being able to control her ability that well. I feel like Prince might be more powerful given what we saw in the previous test, but I don't think he is gonna measure up well to Bomb. I don't see it, you know? Especially since Bomb hasn't like tried at anything at this point. He's just been incredibly outmatching everyone, and he hasn't had to do anything that really pushed him in any way. Like, there's been no struggle. Oh, did we unfreeze Yun though? Because I don't know if Prince will mind where she is and not hit her in the midst of all of this. Locking the door was a good strategy though. If you want to insist on a fight, I feel like it's just gonna be an inconvenience for Bomb though. Of course he's giggling. It's not gonna go over well. But I mean, I guess if someone is insisting that strongly that you fight them, I guess at a certain point you just have to give in to the whims, I guess. Where's the light coming from? Hello? Did we wreck the remote? Like break it? Or did he just leave? Wait, I'm like, did we... Hang on, I can figure this out. Did he just walk out and like, could he like freeze him and then just walk out? Because I'm assuming that's why we focused on this panel, like it's like what, 3 times, and then the light is like him opening the door and leaving. I'm assuming that's what happened because we're not getting a reaction now, and he seems to be very vocal about his feelings and thoughts, and I don't think for a second that he wouldn't be outraged at Bomb just leaving. Makes sense though that Bomb would just be like using the same strategy to leave. If it works, why exert yourself, right? Slightly anticlimactic though. Just passing the time, playing some games. Uh-oh, we were told not to let anyone in. Is it Akraptor though? Because he seemed a little bit protective. Do not answer it if it's that woman from the last time. I don't trust her. Don't do it. Like, look, not only do I not trust just random people in the tower who are deciding to befriend the different regulars, but also I have read enough fairy tales to know that when someone's trying to be a kind old lady, run. It never works out well. Name one time that was a good idea. It's always some evil force behind it. Don't do it, Misan. Don't do it. Especially since we're not seeing the whole face. Distrust. Part of the face is blocked. We never trust them. That is drawing comics 101. Her eyes are always closed. The eyes are blocked. There's always something else going on. Don't open the door. Don't do it. If Akraptor finds out about this, he's going to lose his mind. Like, he's gonna be so mad because we saw him before where he was just like looming over her, this like anti-woman, which I feel a little bit offended by as someone who also is called anti by anti-society. How dare you drag my name into this? Don't do it. Come on, Misang. You know better. Listen to your sister. I'm a little on edge. I don't know why this is getting to me. This is like probably one of like the least intense parts of this chapter so far, and I'm just like really worried about her. No. Okay, just look, I feel like Totoro misses me, and that is the only reason I am getting some hugs. I feel very on edge about this out of all of the things that have happened, because Mom can take care of himself. He'll be fine, but Misang by herself worries me. Don't do it. No, don't cut away. You have to at least let me know what happens. Okay, are we finally gonna find out what they're doing? You gotta get out there. Is he gonna be the one that leaves? I was thinking that probably Akraptor would be the one that left because he's, I don't know, more offensive with his style, but also slightly better at like manipulating people. I know this sounds kind of negative, but he is better at kind of talking to people and getting them to trust him, as opposed to like kind of this more strong silent type might be better for a more defensive strategy. Oh, did I get it wrong? Are they going to have it the other way? See, I need you to go and help Misan. That I agree. There was a little bit of ambiguity about whether or not he actually had a daughter, but he does seem more inclined towards helping Misang. I don't know if that's because he actually does have a daughter or not, or if it's just like because she's a child that he's more protective. He did avoid the question of like if he actually had a daughter or not, so that kind of implies that he does, and he doesn't want to talk about it, which probably fair enough. I feel like if he's going up the tower because it is related to something going on with his daughter, that it probably isn't good what happened. So it's kind of an action of someone who's desperate. So I would assume that there's a bit of a tragic story behind that. Like the standoff though, they're both pretty stubborn. And like, let's see who's more stupid. That does seem like an argument that they would have, honestly, where it would just be like seeing who can have the more self-control, I guess, instead of actually fighting each other. I mean, fair enough, but someone go and help Misan. I love the sharp cut. It's like, let's see who's more stupid. What do we have here? But yes, go and help her, please. It makes me nervous that he's able to like just walk up to the door though, because that means that the other woman is in the room and we're not hearing like a commotion or anything, which also makes me nervous. Calmness makes me just suspect that something is going on. We established this last couple of chapters. Where it's like, something's coming. The silence freaks me out. Did we check to see if it was left unlocked? Because that would also be a bad sign. No, don't end the chapter. Oh, I'm so glad we're gonna read another one because I need to know what happens. I haven't been on this on edge in a while for Tower of God. Okay, 13. Yes, be worried about what's happening. I also love the background choice here because it's mimicking like the red that we already had of like the wallpaper, but because of like the difference, it looks like a splatter of blood, which, you know, him saying like, did someone hurt them? I love the way of kind of externalizing his thought process, not only with the little like internal monologue, but also the choice of changing that background slightly. It's a good little touch with the artwork. Yeah, did we try the door? Is there a doorknob? Can we try it? See it? And again, having that switch back to it almost looks like blood splatter or like sense of kind of panic to the background. Yeah, the silence is freaky. We're just gonna keep shouting and trying? There's gotta be some way to get in, maybe? Before you break it. Miseng? Oh, that makes me even more nervous that if she can just like talk, but she wasn't for that long. Oh, really? Good girl. Yes, do not open the door for the scary one. But we're also not seeing her eyes, which makes me nervous. I feel like there's something else going on. I'm distrustful of everything. Like, you look like a bad person. You know, he just has a certain style. I mean, is he a bad person? He came all the way to help you and then insisted on staying when you didn't answer because he was worried. Aw, that's so cute though. Like, it's such a like kid thing too of, I don't know, the contradictions of being like saying like, I can't be around you because like you're a bad person, I'm trying to follow the rules and stuff like that, but then also being scared and not wanting to be by yourself and having that like conflict of not really knowing what to choose, because like when you're a kid, you're like, you want to follow the rules, but you also have like your own intuition and stuff, and you don't really know what to pick. And your intuition isn't always good as a kid because you don't have like a ton of experience behind it. So it's like, do you trust yourself or do you trust people that are like have authority over you and who you've trusted forever? And it becomes this like conflict of like, what do you do? And especially someone like Misang, who's like in the tower in this position of going through some pretty intense stuff that most like kids shouldn't. I mean, you have to have like grown up at a certain point. You know, I'm saying like you don't have enough experience to trust your intuition as a kid, but Misang probably has a lot more experience than most people her age would, at least in like our world would. So her being able to make a bit of a judgment call is probably better, but also I know she wants to trust her sister. Do I trust him? I don't even know. I don't know who to trust anymore. I used to be able to trust Bomb, and now I'm like, I don't know. He's a little bit intense now. Doesn't like to play with others. Aw, that's cute though. Where he's like, I'll just stay outside then. Aw, like completely leaving the game just to comfort her. That's sweet. And I bet he wants to make sure that nobody ever finds out about it. That he was nice. It's a good question. Especially like two of them. I was wondering this because it's like the two siblings. Why both of them? Because a lot of the time it's like one person who's kind of representing their family, or at least if they are multiple people representing their like family or house or whatever, they're not related actually, they're just, you know, from the same family. So why have someone who's like actually related going up the tower together? Your parents told you had to, but you're a child. That seems like a bad decision. Bad parenting. Are we getting flashback? Yes, give me backstory, please. I think especially since she's saying like, I had to come into the tower, and if he actually does have a daughter, then there might be some story there. Especially since it seems like the Great Families just kind of adopt people in. Did he lose his daughter because of that? I don't know. I'm speculating, and I could just read. Yeah, see, it seems like someone's taking her away. So it's like the opposite of a child like voluntarily going into the tower. Of course, like, because their parents told them to, and then having a parent who wanted to protect their child from being in the tower, but someone took them away. Oh, that's so sad though. Are we gonna run into that again? Is his daughter just like somewhere being trained to do something? My brain is kind of going through all the possibilities. Because I mean, daughter, female, Princess of Jihad possibly? Could also just be a regular? Could not be going through the tower yet, being trained to go through the tower? Because if she's young, then they might want to train her a bit before they kind of put her in as a regular. We're gonna have to loop back to this storyline at some point. He's gotta like see her again. That has to be something that would pay off. Can we play a game? No. You can't say no, especially since she knows that you're just gonna like let her have what she wants. Like, you've proven that you have a soft spot for her. She will take full advantage. I feel like this game might make more sense in the original Hangul if it's like a word-based game. You like match syllables and stuff. I like the tower and it says rescue. That seems part of his story, to rescue his daughter. Uh-oh, is this the creepy auntie? Ah, yeah, okay, thank you, Magnus. I was like, I'm assuming it was one of those like rhyming game things because it said word chain. So I'm like, this doesn't make any sense to me in the English translation. But yeah, if it's like match whatever the last letter is, unless they did match it and I'm just dumb. Yeah, they did match it. Okay, I wasn't paying that much attention. We have the evil auntie. I'm assuming evil in some way. No one smiles like that and hides their eyes and has pure intentions. He's definitely gonna beat her up. Could see it coming. No one smiles like that. Like, he doesn't usually smile at all. And I feel like the smirk definitely has to do with him being like, this will pass the time. I think he just wants an excuse to pick a fight with her, given how she's been going after Misan. People wear more than 2 rings? Why? Is that symbolic of something? I mean, wealth, I guess? Kind of showing it off. Why would you say the kid is useless if you were going after her? Seems like a weird claim to make now. But I like the fact that he's just like, you don't seem useful either. Yeah. I was like, I feel like the rings are probably important in some way. I love the shift in color that this season has when people are using Shinsu, where like it's not only that I like having like the distinct colors with the different fighting, because you can kind of separate the Shinsu then, because if you have 2 people who are using like Shinsu in some capacity, it could be difficult if it was all the same color. So having contrasting colors or differing colors makes it easier to pick out who is using what. But I also love how like the whole atmosphere shifts when people use it, because we know that like Shinsu is something that's kind of everywhere in the tower. It's just part of, you know, like the atmosphere of it. It's like air, it's like its own element that's just kind of there. So I love how everything shifts around someone using it, because it feels like they're drawing it in to use it, or they're becoming like a focal point because they're using it. It's just a really cool way of changing the feeling of a scene, right? Because we have something like, you know, this where there's like some cool tones, there's some block colors, fairly bare in the aesthetic, and then you have this where you have like all of the smoke and the Shinsu and the color shifts and the sparks, like these points of light that shift the shadows and stuff like that. It's just really cool from like a aesthetics side. And I'm talking about that because I'm sure that he's fine. I feel like this isn't going to be that big of a deal for him. Yeah, his cool like umbrella thing. I like that I can kind of like him now, because I was like, I like your aesthetic. I like the whole umbrella weapon thing. See like this where there's like all the like Shinsu kind of like smoke and dust and stuff and sparks just to fill up the frame with like movement and stuff. It just, I gotta brag about the artwork every once in a while. Did he put it through her hand? Yo. I mean, effective, if that's like where she kind of channels her ability. Ooh, I love how the background is like blacked out too. I love that too, where we're getting a lot of using the colors, not only to shift for like the Shinsu, but using the backgrounds and the colors in the background to shift the like emotion in the scene. And the fact that it's like blacked out and then there's like no detailing or anything in it has this feeling of him, you know, when he's saying this line and he's in like this fighting mode, he's kind of emptied himself of all of the like emotions and empathy that we've had before, where he was like trying to connect with Misan and all of that, and like the feelings that he was having, where we had the splatters and breaks and stuff in the background because you could feel that emotion through it. Whereas like this one, he's cutting that all off and he's just focused on the fight and him saying like, I don't want this to be something that scares her, but also he's like devoid of any empathy for this woman. I love that contrast in the art. If I can, we gotta talk about the artwork, okay? It's been upgraded and there's some cool stuff happening. I gotta point it out. Oh, see, that too like happens off screen in, you know, little lesson in comic books. We call that the gutters. So in comics, the gutters are the spaces in between the panels, and this is actually a example of blood in the gutters, which is a thing where something significant happens in between panels. It's implied, and the reader kind of has to fill in the gaps given what you're able to show them, because a lot of the time it's violence that happens, as here, because you don't want to show all of that, especially if you want to get a certain rating on your comic, if you have a certain audience age that you're aiming for. But yeah, no, blood in the gutters is when significant stuff happens in between panels in the gutter. So like this is the gutter and you have like a much bigger space because you have a bigger action happening before we shift to the scene, and it's just implied what happens. So, you know, little lesson for anyone who wants to get into comics. I love that we get the like kind of like setting the scene as like the room numbers. I like that that's the way that we're shifting through, because it's a good way to kind of keep track of where everyone is, but it's also like contained, right? We're not having like big open shots where we're establishing scenes of like larger areas. It's confined to a room. So just showing the number is like, this is the space that we have. We're not gonna look for the remote. I would have been searching. I don't know if you guys ever played that game as like a kid where you would like hide an object and then someone else, it's like hide and seek, but like with a treasure hunt element, I guess. I used to be great at that game. I was great at hiding the different objects. I was great at finding them, which is remarkable considering how bad my eyesight has always been. See, I like this too, where I was talking about like having a confined space where we have pretty small panels too here, where it's like, you know, smaller space, but we also have like outlines around panels. Like even like the faint line at the top and bottom is like constricting that view, whereas you could have it blend in like we have here, where the panel just kind of blends into the background, whereas instead we have like these borders, which is really cool because it's like confining the space of saying like he is stuck in this small room by himself, and I think it's getting to him a little bit. What happened? Did somebody show up? Open the door? It is unlocked. Did we have a thought? Did we hear something? Fine, just end there. It's fine. I'm not mad about it. Whatever. I think that is the most stressed that I've been in this season so far, because it's just like Misan just sort of hits different, you know, like I'm worried about her because she's a child, but also she doesn't seem like the kind where it's like they're a child but they have like some kind of, I don't know, deadlier instinct to them. You like Killua from Hunter x Hunter, like he's a kid but also dangerous, whereas like Misan like might have a bunch of power behind her. Like she's made it this far up the tower, so I'm assuming she has a lot more to her than just being the kid going up this tower with her sister. I'm assuming there's more to that, especially since they were separated for a little while. So she did have to defend herself in some way, but she doesn't seem to be the kind of person who enjoys it. Like she gets scared and she doesn't want to be alone, and she's trying to follow the rules, and you know, she's like sharing her snacks with people and stuff like that. You know, she gets upset and all of that. So she has that feeling of like a legitimate kid who's just kind of been thrown into this and doesn't really know what she's doing, and I just feel very protective of that. And all the other kind of characters seem to have a certain feeling of that. Maybe not Prince, but he got frozen at the beginning of the one chapter. I feel a lot of protective feelings towards her, especially since the tower is not the most forgiving or fair place. So I feel even more like people need to protect her. Definitely the most stressed I felt, because I feel like she's one of those people who can be very trusting, and she doesn't seem to want to fight people. So even if she does have a bunch of power behind her, will she use it? We haven't seen her use it. I feel like it would take a lot for her to voluntarily want to fight with someone. So I think that's kind of where a lot of the tension comes from, whereas someone like Bam, he'll be fine because he will definitely just, you know, free someone or jump into the fight and not really need anyone to come rescue him. Even like, I mean, maybe Wangnan I would feel a little bit nervous about because he doesn't seem the most powerful, but at least he would try to put up a fight, whereas like Misung, I don't know what she would do. So I think that's part of the tension that I feel for her. But I liked getting some more backstory with Akraptor and him, and why he's here. It seems to be connected to his daughter being taken away from him and him wanting to rescue her. And it just kind of puts in perspective that before, when he was, you know, asking to be allowed to continue at the tower and everyone was like, this is an act, he's just trying to get like sympathy, that came from like an actual place of like desperation and realizing that he might not be able to continue. And he kind of played it off because that was, you know, they gave him a way out of it not being vulnerable, you know, whereas it's actually something that is motivating him to be in the tower. And I think that adds a lot of empathy to him and a lot of complexity to why he feels the way that he does about the tower and why he might be interested in someone who is part of the Fugue and is anti-jihad and all of that stuff. So I like that we're kind of, you know, giving him a little bit more than the swaggering antagonistic vibes that he had when we were first introduced to him. Even though he wants to be disconnected, he doesn't want to bond with the people around him. He does have a soft spot. So I like getting to, you know, see those layers show themselves, and it's still a little bit, you know, violent when pushed. So I like getting to see some more of the different characters' personalities and backstories and stuff like that as we continue through. Everyone has a very complicated reason, which I feel like you would have to. I don't think anyone gets this far up the tower without there being something that really motivates them to be here. There has to be a ton of depth behind why certain characters are here and why they're still struggling to go up the tower. So I like getting that mixed in with some more of the action stuff, which is just has a really cool aesthetic in this season, and I like seeing the artwork evolve and use symbolism a lot more, you know, because using the like Shinsu to like shift the color and have all of the kind of external use of it, whether it's the smoke or the sparks or the light shifting and all of that, it helps because it adds that atmosphere and it creates that shift as well, but also it helps from like an art standpoint because you don't have to redraw the background, which as someone who has done a lot of drawing in my time, not having to draw a bunch of backgrounds over and over again is great. It's why a lot of the time in comics people will just like put a matte color in the background so you don't have to like, you know, in this one you'd have to draw the same hallway a bunch of times. So it adds some, it means that you don't have to do that again, but it also means that it adds something else to the story. It's changes up the panels. I like that even when the background was kind of blocked out with a different color, it was reflecting the emotions and the thoughts of the characters and stuff. It's just some good stuff going on. I like that Bomb is just headed towards love and no one's really causing him any trouble, so I'm sure that that will lead up to probably a pretty intense fight because Love has some rage there and also some power that outmatches Bomb, like just slightly from what we saw before. So lots of things kind of swirling together as we get into this test where we kind of know the characters a bit more than we did with the previous ones. You can click this playlist to go and see my previous reactions, or you can subscribe so it's next time I post a Tower of God reaction, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!